Y'all coming in hot today. College students, let's talk about why you should not email your professor to ask for a meeting at the beginning of the semester. I know, completely opposite of what you heard, but let's talk about it. Before I go any further, let me introduce myself. My name is Michelle, your college auntie, and I got the tea to help you win in college. Now, if you're watching me here on the TikTok app, y'all, make sure you follow me on these other platforms right here because we don't know what's going to happen with this app, okay? It can go away, it can go bye-bye, go poof. So make sure you follow me on these other platforms. Now, let's get into the tea. Now, y'all, you know I got something from Reddit, my favorite platform for the tea. But y'all, this professor was feeling a type of way. So he said, we need to meet. No, we don't. He said, seeing more and more of this, emails from students sent during the first week of class or even before the semester starts, emails saying something like, I hope that this email finds you well. I need to schedule a meeting with you to discuss this course. Please let me know a convenient time. What? And then professor's time response is like, every single time is I'm happy to answer any specific questions about the course after you read the syllabus and have any other early semester readings or modules or whatever is required for you before you come meet with me, read that first. And then they said there's never a follow-up on the end from the other students after they send that response. Y'all. But y'all, the last part is the kicker. They said, as if I need another useless meeting in my life. Talking about y'all. Talking about y'all. He said, read the beep syllabus and get to work rather than asking me to essentially read the syllabus to you individually. Y'all. This is one of the reasons why you don't want to ask for a meeting at the beginning of the semester like this. I'll talk about at the end of the video, so make sure you stay to the end because I'll talk about why you should use meetings or what you should do instead, okay? But this professor's like, some of them see these meetings as useless. And if you're sitting here trying to make a good impression upon them at the beginning of the semester because maybe you want to get a letter of recommendation or something of that sort down the line, for this particular professor and others like them, this ain't the way to do it. Let me show you some more examples of some other comments from this same thread. Look at this comment. The professor said, I believe this is today's edition of crappy internet advice for students. A registered trademark, where students get email templates and advice on how to get a hold of the professors and make connections so they'll be able to get a reference in the future from this professor. And then they said, mildly proactive, but also lacking in discernment. Y'all listen to them. Listen to them because this professor is quite accurate. And also this kind of means don't necessarily believe everything you hear when you're on the interwebs, on the social medias, all the things. You need to listen to reputable resources. And I can tell you right now, college auntie, your girl is a reputable resource. But let's continue with another comment, okay? Here go another one from a frustrated professor that said, I just got this today. A student needs to meet with me because one of my assignments is really confusing and needs me to explain it. But then the professor can see that the student hasn't watched any of their instructional videos. So y'all remember eons ago when I said here, if you have Canvas, Blackboard, Moodle, D2L, whatever platform your school is using, a lot of professors can see your access to certain sections of the platform. So if you're asking a question about an assignment, but you haven't even opened the page to look at the description or even watch the instructional video, and you want to have a meeting with me to discuss the assignment that you ain't do the work to learn about? What? But yo, the interesting thing about this one is that the professor said, go ahead and watch that video. Probably told him, I can tell that you haven't watched it yet, but go ahead and watch that video. And then once you're done, if you have any specific questions, go ahead and follow up with me. And then the professor's like, I'm not even anticipating response because probably all the questions are going to be answered there, or the student might be honest, feel a bit too embarrassed to reach out again. But I do want to say for the record, not all professors feel that way. This one, for example, said, we all seem to complain about this, and yet they talk about themselves in the professors subreddit, right? Said we seem to actively seek out ways to avoid student meetings, which I can kind of concur, right? I don't understand the negativity. I remember being an undergrad and just wanting to meet my professor and make a decent connection. But they also said, obviously, if the student is coming in to get me to explain the syllabus and I can suss that out within the first 30 minutes, I might just tell them to read the syllabus and come back if they have questions. But they're saying it's not a waste of my time because that's what I'm in my office to do, is to meet with students. But they seem to have wasted their own time with meetings like these, and they need to learn the lesson for the future. So again, this person kind of understands, but they also give a little bit of explanation of like how you should approach it. So let's talk about auntie, these people sit here talk about us. All right, how should I approach it? You said you're a reputable resource. How should I approach it? I'm glad you asked. Let's talk about it. Now, y'all know, because I'm your college auntie, I'm not just going to give you tips. I'm going to actually give you, some 10 tips, bullet points in document format. So go ahead and take a screenshot of this. Boop. I'm going to run through each one of these one by one fairly rapidly, so make sure you keep up with me. The first thing is you want to make sure that you read the syllabus. Y'all, that sound like it's basic, but it's not. Read the syllabus. There's so many tips, a lot of tidbits, knowledge, sometimes suggestions for recommendations, office hours, all those things. And one of the biggest things that can be a pet peeve for a professor is a student coming in and asking the professor, I want to talk to you more about the course, and then asking questions that are specifically in the syllabus. Now, there's a difference between asking a question about something that was written in the syllabus for clarity versus asking the instructor to then basically asking all these questions. So when are assignments typically due? Syllabus tells you. What book is required for the class? And you might be laughing and chuckling like, Auntie, that sounds silly. You'll be surprised the types of questions students ask, and it's very clear. People can suss it out within 10 to 15 minutes, 20 to 15 seconds rather, whether or not you're actually coming to gain knowledge because you truly want understanding versus you just not doing the work and wanting them to do it for you. Newsflash, they are not going to regurgitate that syllabus over for you. They took all that time to write it so that way you can read it, so read it. Next thing, make sure you're attending your classes, and I want you to sit in the learning tee. So those OGs that have been following me, you've seen a video that I've made in the past. I feel like it was 2 years ago, a year ago now, that was called sitting in the learning tee. For those who don't know, that's just sitting in the frontmost, centermost seats that are directly in the line of sight for your professor, so they can see your face, they can see you regularly engaging with content. Be mindful of body language because they see all of that, and they can, like, sometimes you might enter, every time that they see you is an interaction. Even if you're not physically talking or emailing, that is an interaction, and every single interaction counts. We'll talk about that in a moment. 3, get to class early as much as you can. Now, I can understand if you have a classes back to back, you got 10 minutes, you're running across campus as much as you can, right? But if you are able to get to class on time and get there before class starts to actually get set up and get the seat that you want, don't dilly-dally. If you're talking with a friend, talk to your friend briskly as you walk to class. Get there at least 2 to 3 minutes early. Try to get set up, be ready to go, so that way when the professor walks in, they get used to seeing you in that space. So if something happens, you're looking a little bit off one day because you're sick or whatever that is, they can clock it really quickly. And contrary to popular belief, professors, some of y'all may not know this, they have access to a photo roster of all the students in their class. So they may not know who you are, but maybe they know who you are. Okay. All right. Now here, number 4 is the big one. Y'all, attend office hours. You know how many people don't even go to office hours the first week or even the first 2 weeks when there are no assignments scheduled because they're just, I don't have any work to do. A lot of students don't even go. I'm not talking about those who have conflicts in their schedule, which means you physically cannot go because you're working or you have other courses during that time. But I mean truly those who just don't go because they don't see a need to go. So instead of trying to schedule that separate meeting to talk to the professor, to talk about what you could be talking about during office hours, go to office hours. And here's a tip. You want to make sure you're asking good questions, well thought out questions. So again, that's why you want to read the syllabus. So if you have a specific question about the policy, you can ask that there. Or if you just have questions about the content or whatever that is, you can ask that question, and then you'll look like someone who's learning, who's being intentional. And again, if you're trying to build rapport with the instructor and eventually get a letter of recommendation, you don't want them to just say you did well in their class. You want them to be able to say you asked good questions. Those types of anecdotal things that make you stand out with employers, okay? Now, this next part, you want to ask for advice for success in the course. Not just any type of advice, but ask the professor, like, what are some traits that after you've asked your specific questions specifically about the content or the syllabus or whatever you have, then you want to ask, what are some traits that you've noticed of really successful students in this class that you've taught? Then maybe ask, like, when you were taking this course and learning this content for the first time, what were some areas that you struggled in, and what were some things that you did, like some study skills or strategies that you implemented, or any recommendations that you have, knowing now what you had gone through to help you be successful? Any tips that you have for me? Mention if you're nervous about the course, I'm really nervous about this content and I really want to do well. So what did you do? How did you study? What are some tips that you have based off your experience with this content the very first time that you can impart to me? People love talking about themselves, right? But that's also a really thoughtful question. Most people don't think to ask that, which is why you're going to stand out because you follow me. All right, we'll run through the rest of these pretty quickly. Submit your assignments before the deadline because I want you to put forth effort there. Send emails with specific questions included. Don't just say, can I meet with you? If you have a question about something, write it in the email to give them a chance to be able to answer you. Make sure you read the syllabus before you ask the question, though. Request to schedule meetings for pertinent concerns. Let's say, for example, if you have accommodations or those sorts of things, but only if you have a conflict with office hours or if it's something that's more sensitive in nature. Send an email first asking if they're okay with that and then schedule the meeting. Be consistent, be patient. Remember, relationships take a while to build. And last but not least, remember that the very first interaction, including just you and your instructor seeing each other, you plant the seed. Every other interaction after that, you are watering that seed. So what you do and the interactions you have and the effort you put can determine what type of crop is developed in your garden. I know it's a really weird analogy, but just walk with me on that. But just know, don't just be trying to go up and schedule meetings with them. Be intentional. Hope this helps. Love you. Bye.